Everybody, welcome to the Together Tufts call. We're gonna get started in just about 60 seconds. We're just gonna wait for a few more people to enter from the waiting room, but really appreciate you being here. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, it's 12:01. I see people coming into the room, so we're just going to get moving. We have a full program today, and it's really looking forward to connecting with you all and having an opportunity to share some information and have a conversation. So thank you for joining us. My name is Sean Devendorf. I'm the Executive Director of Alumni Engagement and Annual Giving here at Tufts, and really excited about the celebration of all of you, our Tufts volunteers, during National Volunteer Month. So our program today, this is going to consist of a university update, and we'll be doing a kind of sharing of what's happening on campus, really highlight all the incredible work that you are doing as volunteers, and then get to a really exciting panel for the Leonard Carmichael Society. We have both the student leaders and former alumni leaders of this group, moderated by Elizabeth Amador, the president of the Tufts Alumni Association. So it's really going to be a fantastic opportunity, not only highlighting the work you do as volunteers, but highlighting the work of volunteers and students on campus and in the surrounding communities. Then we'll talk a little bit about some upcoming opportunities, kind of what are different ways that you can continue to get involved in volunteer, and just talk a little bit through reunions and homecoming as well. But before we get into the presentation as a whole, I just want to pause and acknowledge the challenges facing higher education right now. Importantly, to recognize the concern for Ramessa Ozturk, the Tufts PhD student, taken into custody by Homeland Security last month. Tufts has filed a declaration of support that you've hopefully seen, and the university is working to care for its international students, staff, and faculty. And the outpouring of care and concern from the alumni community has been felt and is appreciated. And we'll be following up with more ways that alumni can help. And our thoughts remain with Ramessa and her family. And just to touch a little bit, the changes to research funding is concerning. And we're continuing to learn more about its impact and implications. The provost and vice provost for research are actively updating faculty and staff and students. They're keeping a very close watch on all of this and the constant changes. And it's all really well documented on their website for information. And just speaking of all this, your connection as alumni has never been more important. Being involved, being engaged, and helping to bolster the Tufts community is just critical. So thank you for everything that you do to help the light on the hill shine brighter. So let's get into the university update. I want to share some exciting stats. Believe it or not, the class of 2029, yes, 2029, was just admitted. So there's over 33,000 applicants, about a 10% acceptance rate, really incredible students. And again, this is the admitted class by May 15th. I'm sure many of you remember that time is when you had to send in that commitment. All 50 states represented, 70 countries, including India, Brazil, Thailand, Kenya, to name a few. So it's really an exciting time of year as we welcome a new generation of jumbos to campus. And just to orient you to some of the photos on this page. So if you see in that lower left, or I guess right, depending on how your screen is oriented, a new residence hall. So this is on Boston Ave. To orient you to this, you're facing Dowling Parking Garage to the right. So this is over 650 beds, primarily third and fourth year apartment style living. So really be a wonderful addition to campus, allow us to bring more students on campus, but still have that independence of an apartment style feel to it. First floor will be retail, and really continue to build the community on campus that we love and want to see. That will be opening in fall of 2027. So it's just approved and breaking ground soon. The Eaton Hall renovation, I know many of you spent some time in Eaton Hall, some of you even as call center and telefund in the basement there. That got a wonderful new renovation, a very inviting space, great community feel to it. And wanted to highlight, you see the pictures of the ribbon cutting here, the dedication of the Tsuming 2 complex. So this was previously the Science and Engineering complex, and it's Professor Loring 2 made a wonderful commitment to Tufts and a wonderful 8-figure gift. to rename the facility in memory of his grandfather, who was a pioneer in medicine in Taiwan. We just recently had this naming ceremony, and it was beautiful. It was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate this generosity. And Professor Tu surprised us at the event. He added an additional $500,000 challenge gift to the Tufts community. He's just so passionate about seeing Tufts do well. He knows how important philanthropy is. He wants people to give back in any way that they can, at any level that they can, whether it's $5 or $5 million. And 200,000 of that is purely for Tufts Fund gifts to area of greatest need or financial aid. So please feel to help fulfill that challenge and honor both the generosity of his spirit and also the impact that it has on campus. So celebrating success. So we've been having a wonderful opportunity to introduce President Sunil Kumar to the wider global and domestic community. And just recently, this is the final year, I should say the second and final year of his introduction tour. And we recently held events in London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, and most recently just closed in Chicago. A really successful way to introduce President Kumar and engage Tufts alumni. You'll see a few pictures here from the One Tufts Miami anniversary celebration event. And really this event was beyond that to really engage the community, the alumni community and Tufts community in South Florida. It was hosted by Sebastian Echevarria, and it was a wonderful way for him as celebrating his reunion this year, bring people together at his home, hosted Barbara Brizuela, the new Dean of Arts and Sciences, and I can let Elizabeth talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation as well. I'll talk more in a few slides about the bows of the last decade. We've had some wonderful events all over the country. Homecoming was incredibly successful this year. Hundreds of alumni returning to campus, cheering on the athletics competitions and engaging. The Jumbo Journalism Reunion that is pictured here. It's the first time that we've done that event. So 100 alumni came back that were involved in journalism when they were on campus. A really successful event. A really good example of if you have an idea and you want to work with us on how we can help support that, let's continue to have conversations and talk on how we can engage and support various alumni activities. And Senior 100 Days, we revamped it this year, and this was a way to recognize seniors 100 days from graduation and bring back alumni to connect with them, to talk about career opportunities and what it means to be an alum. And finally, we know that not everyone can make it on campus. So we do want to have, or I should also say that we're not traveling to a city, perhaps that's near you or the timing doesn't work. We want to have virtual ways to connect. So we started a Joys and Challenges of Leadership in Higher Education series this year. We've had a number of events featuring President Kumar, Provost Jenko, Dean of Admissions, JT Duck, Karen Panetta from Engineering, Eileen Babbitt from Fletcher. So really trying to introduce you to a number of different leaders within the Tufts community. You can join during your lunch break. We have one more coming up with Dana Cunningham, Dean of Tisch, and Chris Economos, Dean of the Friedman School on May 7th. So we hope to see you at one of those. And also let us know what is interesting to you. What do you want to hear about? We know there have been a number of volunteer calls, and you've been wonderful in attending those, both for reunion, class volunteers, and Giving Tuesday success. So next, just want to throw this in really briefly. This news came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Forbes came out with a list of what they're calling the new Ivies, 10 privates, 10 publics. And the way that they were defining this is they were talking to employers, looking at research profiles, and saying, like, where are companies hiring from? Where did we hear really positive things about students coming from these areas? And Tufts was highlighted. And I will say that they were highlighted just because Tufts is at the bottom of this list. That's just alphabetical order. This list is not in order of importance. So just wanted to highlight that too. But really exciting, just a good pride point. This speaks to the caliber of students and alumni that we have and being recognized by Forbes in that mention. So continuing to celebrate our volunteers and everything that you do. Thank you for all the energy that you put into our regional and shared interest groups. Here's a photo from the Tufts Women's Network of New York. The Tufts Women's Network of Boston is also doing a lot of events. And they're just really active groups that are helping to engage the Tufts community. But there's so many others. So 78 events have happened this year within this regional shared interest groups. Nearly 4,000 alumni attended. This is in addition to our friends of Tufts Athletics. which comes together. They have reunions that they have with their teams, and there's tons of tailgating and opportunities to support, watch parties, and all different things like that with the athletics program. So we're really thankful for all the work that you do. And class volunteers continues to be a really important program. I know there's a number of you on the call today, reaching out to over 4,000 of your classmates. The most important thing that we can do, or that you can do as an alum, is to reach out and bring people in. That is the most effective way of communication. We can send out all the emails that we want almost. And what is the most effective way is that peer-to-peer connection. And reunion committees. We're really excited about reunions coming up, the work that you put into it, engaging your classmates, asking them to join you on campus, asking them to join you in supporting Tufts. That is so critically important. And our Tufts Travel Learn program is really a nice way for people to experience the world with Tufts faculty members and learn something on their international travels and adventures. Just wanted to highlight, I know this was a few months ago, but just to say thank you. Tufts Giving Tuesday is successful because of the work that you as volunteers do to support what is meaningful to you, to support your causes on campus, and to reach out to your peers. So nearly 8,000 donors, $5 million raised. Most importantly, the impact it has on students and faculty keeps Tufts running, and is really an incredible way to show the community the collective care that it has and importance on philanthropy. And then just finally celebrating again the work that you do as volunteers. The Bows of the last decade, which is 1 to 10 years out, alumni, I just mentioned this, 12 events since July 1st. Most recently, engagement and fundraising events all over the country. I know I'll probably miss one, but Boston, New York, DC, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago. So that was just in the past 3 weeks. So really incredible engagement. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for reaching out to your classmates. It's really wonderful to see the connection from our most recent graduates. And also another way a lot of people are choosing to connect is through our HERD platform, which is for alumni career connections and mentorship. Nearly 8,000 alumni. We want to get more people registered in there, completing the profiles, about 5,000 students. So it's a really wonderful way to connect through mentoring because students want to ask questions. They want to know, how did you get your first job? How do I network into this field? All those important things being available. And I know we're looking forward to celebrating our Tufts Alumni Award winners as well this fall. So thank you for everything that you do as volunteers. We're grateful and really excited to talk a little bit about the Leonard Carmichael Society. So the Leonard Carmichael Society, we're really excited that this year's panel includes both student and alumni leaders and members. It was founded in 1958 with a mission to inspire students to embrace meaningful service and civic engagement. The group has just expanded. It's an umbrella organization now for over 20 service-oriented subgroups, including Habitat for Humanity, Tufts ESL, the Best Buddies program, to name just a few. Signature LCS events, Day of Service, Community Day, Halloween on the Hill, and just many more. This year alone, 7 events so far with more than 400 students taking place in the programming. And it's really a wonderful partnership that they also have with Tisch College of Civic Life and neighboring communities. So it's my pleasure to introduce today's panel. And as I mentioned, we have both students and alumni in this panel helping to represent everything that Leonard Carmichael Society does. And so this year's panel, if we can just go to the next slide, I believe. Ishan Rajabali, Sarah Feinberg, Anika Bashir, representing the current students, Nick Abraham, and Andrea Daly Merrin for our alumni contingency, and all being moderated by Elizabeth Amador, the president of the Tufts Alumni Association. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. We're really thrilled. And Elizabeth, thank you for everything that you do for Tufts and for continuing to help us spread the great word of the Alumni Association. And I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to put you on hold for a second because I think I am missing a piece here of the questions that I'm supposed to be asking. Give me one.
Elizabeth gets that sorted out. I just want to highlight all the different ways that you can continue to be involved. And I know many of you, obviously, as volunteers, are already doing so much for Tufts. We'll be talking a little bit more about at the end about the career mentoring platform, the Herd. So if you're in that, it's really helpful. I'm sure the students in the call, hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. We're always looking at ways to bolster it, continue to improve it. What we didn't talk about was a Tufts alumni LinkedIn group. So there's over almost 30,000 alumni in the Tufts alumni LinkedIn group. So it's a great way to connect and to be part of that. And you can ask any questions that you want in there. It's a nice way because alumni are good at when they see that you went to Tufts and you reach out to them, they're going to connect right away. It's a nice commonality that you have and a nice thread that we can continue to highlight. And I think Elizabeth is ready to go, so I will pass it back over.
Sorry about that. So we just like to start off by having each of you on the panel introduce yourselves, obviously your names, your class years, activities that you took part in at Tufts, and anything else that you'd like to share. So maybe we can start with, on my screen at the top left is Andrea.
Hi, thanks. So my name's Andrea Daly Marin. I graduated from the School of Engineering in '05, stayed for my master's, graduated in '07. And I actually worked for Tufts in IT for a little stint, so very much a big former participant. Within LCS, I was one of the co-presidents from '04 to '05, but honestly spent most of my undergraduate year involved in some capacity or another. So it's a gift of love to be able to participate in this today. Am I supposed to tag
Great.
somebody else in? Oh, sorry.
Anita?
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. I'm a freshman in the class of 2028, and I'm undeclared at the moment, but I'm a prospective major in international relations and cognitive and brain sciences. And I'm current alumni chair of the LCS, and one project that we've done so far that's really resonated with me is our LCS Day of Service. And I'm excited to share more about that with you all.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to see a current student on the panel. Ishan?
Hi everyone, it's great to be here today. My name is Ishan Rajavali. I am a junior. I'm double majoring in political science and history, and I'm currently co-president of the Leonard Carmichael Society. My wonderful co-president, Ellie Pantikidis, is not here today. She's abroad right now, but just wanted to highlight her as well. And yep, one project that we've done recently that I think got off really well, I would agree with Anika on that, is our day of service. We had almost 100 students show up, eager to give back to the community and remain integrated. And I think that is what LCS is all about. So it was a wonderful occasion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Sarah, over to you.
Hi, yes, it's super great to be here today. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a sophomore in the class of 2027. I'm double majoring in biopsychology and community health. And I'd have to, I'm also current vice president of LCS. And for me, I'd have to agree as well with Day of Service. We just had it last week, which was very exciting. As well as I love being involved in all the subgroups of LCS. That's a very meaningful part of it to me. So I'm excited to talk about that with you all.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. And over to you. Is it Nick or Nikhil?
Nick, yes.
Nick, great.
My name's Nick Abraham. I studied quantitative economics when I was at Tufts, and I worked at an economic consulting firm after. I also went to law school and business school, and I decided not to practice law. I've been in tech and in startups for the last 10, 15 years, and I've worked at different companies in education, in e-commerce. I currently work at a healthcare company that powers telehealth for companies online, like companies like Amazon, Quest, etc. So we have a whole, thousands of doctors that we supply for online visits. So that's what I do now.
Wonderful. It's nice to see hear all the interesting things that you've done since you've graduated from Tufts. So I'm going to turn it over to the panelists. They each have questions that they will ask each other. And who would like to start? Is there someone who would like to start with one of their questions?
Yes, I can start. So I think my question is what made me want to join LCS? And I first became familiar with LCS because I did the student government, and I did the budgeting, and so LCS was one of my budget groups, and so I got to work with them for a couple of years, and then I became good friends with the two Kates. There's Kate Elder and Kate Donahue, who were the LCS presidents, and they had so much energy that I thought, wow, I should, it'd be fun to work with them. It'd be fun to hang out with them. And I'd also been doing junior achievement for a couple of years, and so there was like a natural time, I think around my sophomore junior year, to I'd already been part of LCS because in my freshman year, and then also I think I became LCS's treasurer and helped manage the finances my junior year. But it was really the Kates. I think they had so much energy that I thought it'd be amazing to work on anything with them.
Great, thanks, Nick. Who wants to go next? Anika?
Sure. So, I think for me, just coming to Tufts, since I grew up in Pakistan, this principle of zakat and giving back to the community was really just deeply ingrained in me from a young age. I guess service was just really part of my identity. And when I arrived at Tufts, I knew I wanted to continue engaging with service, but I didn't really know what form that would take just yet. And then we had our first club fair at the beginning of the academic year. And I still remember moving from table to table. I was overwhelmed, but I was excited as well by all the choices. And then I arrived at the LCS table, and I was just immediately struck, just not just by the scope of the work, but that it was an umbrella organization supporting so many service groups, so many subgroups across campus. And that was something that really resonated with me. And I realized through LCS, I could help amplify their impact. And that's something I just immediately wanted to be part of.
Oh, wonderful. Sarah?
For me, it also started when I first came to Tufts. Right beforehand, joining as a first year, I participated in the Focus pre-orientation that's focused around community service. And for me, I really loved that experience of being in a space where I could work with other students and make community around that, but also working with our local community and really learning from the service activities that we were doing. And so I knew that was a community that I wanted to continue to be a part of once I became a student at Tufts, and I also came across it at the LCS club at the club fair. And I was really engaged by the initiatives that LCS did, as well as I became quickly very involved with a lot of the subgroups that some of my focus pre-orientation leaders had recommended, but I also was immediately drawn to based on like my past involvement with service, like as throughout childhood and high school. And so it really immediately became a community for me that I wanted to continue being a part of and help support in the initiatives of the subgroups. And so that's why I ended up joining LCS e-board.
Thank you. Ishan?
Yep, I think my answer honestly would be a little repetitive after Anika and Sarah, but yes, I've had a connection to service and civic engagement ever since I was a kid growing up in Bombay. I live right next to a pretty famous beach in Bombay, and so I got involved in doing a couple of cleanups there, and just through my interests and my experiences outside of the classroom, I was pretty sure that I wanted to get involved with some sort of civic engagement on this campus. And then by chance, one of my friends at the time in freshman year, Ellie, was in LTS. She's now my co-president, and she said that I should get involved. So um the other two, I found them at the club fair, signed up, got involved, and I've had a great experience ever since. I think the most wonderful part of it is being able to be part of this community of students that represents a very core Tufts value of being able to take your learning outside the classroom and make a difference, and to be able to deliver that passion in an equitable and sustainable way, and just in terms of the community that you get to be part of. So I think community is at the center of it all.
Absolutely. So I'll just pick up on that. How has it shaped these experiences with LCS? How has it shaped your Tufts experiences?
I'll go. For me, as I said, I was really drawn to the LCS community immediately because I knew that this group of students of who all wanted to be engaged in the community and really work together to bring what we were learning outside the classroom while also learning from our local community. And so this has just been definitely one of the most formative experiences I've had at Tufts, starting with Focus and then moving into LCS. It's definitely consumed every single area of my life. Most of the people I'm closest with, I've met through these sorts of LCS opportunities and community service engagement. I just love the group of people who are involved in doing these sorts of activities. And as Ishan mentioned, like taking what we were learning from in the classroom and really trying to use our understanding of our roles as students in the context of the community that we live in to both work with them, the local communities, and see how we can support and continue learning from that. And so I think it's just been a really special way to understand my role as a student and how I'm going to take that beyond.
Who would like to go next?
I don't mind going next. And I think just adding on to what Sarah said, I feel volunteering really has just become the center of my experience at Tufts. And I feel it's easy to always just become consumed by academic deadlines and priorities, but service just grounds me. It reminds me why I came here in the first place. And that's really to just live a life that bridges thought and action. And through LCS, I've had so many incredible opportunities to step outside campus life and enter new spaces that have introduced me to mentors, site partners, peers that have really made me rethink what I want to do in life. And it's really just helped me see how education is incomplete without service, because knowledge just opens so many new paths for engagement and service of others. And that's something I hope to take forward as well.
I can round us off on that. So I think the biggest role that LCS plays in my life outside of being in the club is having to explain to my friends what it is and why I'm so passionate about it, because I do bring it up a lot. And I think one critical role that we play on campus is just ensuring that all of these initiatives keep going and that we can remain involved with the community around us, because people tend to be more familiar with our subgroups in certain cases because they are so much more expansive than just our executive board, which sort of handles stuff at the top. So I think one way in which LCS has shaped my Tufts experience is actually encouraging me to get more involved with our subgroups as well, so that you're not just relegated to just doing stuff at the executive board level, but you can actually get out there and get your hands dirty and get more involved with the community through that ground level work, as opposed to just coordinating stuff behind the scenes. So I think it has definitely given me a new perspective on how to get more involved with the community and how what role the executive board can play in supporting these initiatives without having to center itself. And I think I've seen, I mean, as a political science student, you know, development, civic engagement, organization, it's brought up a lot in my classes. And I think being able to see that in action and to get that experience, even if it's in just a local perspective, is still very important for taking that learning and applying it into the real world. So I think what being an LCS has made me cognizant of is that it's these smaller steps in the local context that build up and can eventually create change. But we have to focus on the community around us before we look outwards first.
That's great. Is there a moment or experience that reinforced your passion for community service? Is there something you can point to?
For me, this is actually a moment that I had during an experience with one of my subgroups that I'm involved in. It's actually the subgroup that I started with in my pre-orientation experience called the Giving Camp Club. And we work with adults with disabilities, and you get paired with one of the residents at the local center to do activities with and support them. And for me, that's been one of my favorite experiences, both because of the people who are involved with it, but also just getting to know all of the residents and building this relationship with my buddy. I became very close with my buddy, and so every single time we visit and have an event, I really look forward to seeing her. And for her as well, we definitely built a relationship over time. And something really little is like the first week we met during pre-orientation, we made like rings together that were matching. And months later, when we had an event, she was still wearing the same one. And for me, that just felt like a small moment that really represented the kind of community service and engagement that I want to continue beyond in terms of this sustainability aspect, but also having the little impacts and just being able to build relationships on an individual level at the same time. And so for me, that's definitely reinforced my commitment to community service, and it's definitely driven a lot of what's grounded me in continuing it. So yeah.
Ishan or Anika, can you go and are you able to anything you want to add?
Sure. I feel since we all started off the panel by mentioning how much Day of Service means to us, I feel it's only fitting that I share an anecdote from Day of Service. And during this year's Day of Service, I had the opportunity to serve as a group leader at the Royal House and Slave Quarters here in Medford. And our task was to help clean and maintain the grounds ahead of its summer opening. And during that time, I sought to encourage reflection. And we really felt the weight of the space just settle in. And that's something that still continues to stay with me. And I expect it will far into the future, because it really just reminded me that service isn't necessarily always about helping, it's about remembering as well. And it's about preserving space for discomfort and for bearing witness to truths that I would say just still continue to shape the world around us. And I felt that our day of service really just reminded me that service has the power not only to support communities, but also to encourage consciousness. And it taught me the importance of walking towards complexity with humility rather than shying away from it. And I hope to continue that in future endeavors as well.
Yeah, and yeah, I would agree with whatever has been said here. I think for me, one particularly transformative experience was my first day of service with LCS, which was last year. I led a cleanup group in East Somerville with a couple of people from just very different parts of campus who signed up to participate, and it was a wet, rainy morning. We were out there. Some of us not very well equipped for the weather because I think we were expecting a different forecast. But we had people come up to us and just say, "Thank you. Where are you guys from? What are you doing?" And just thanked us for the work that we were doing. And um, like in the moment, it didn't seem like we were doing anything important. We just had a couple of trash bags and grabbers, and we're going around and picking up whatever we could find. But being able to engage with that community and see how this simple act made a difference to them, and also being able to just talk to regular tough students about what they expected out of LCS, I think, because that was the period at which I was a president in training. So I was still figuring out what the responsibilities would be like, what my role would be like, and just being able to talk to students from different parts of campus with different interests about what they wanted out of civic engagement and community service, and how we wanted to hear what they wanted from us so they could get more involved in things that they're passionate about. I think that was definitely just a transformative experience. And those 3 hours of just walking around East Somerville, picking things up, mapping the streets, made a big difference to how I structured my approach when I came in as co-president, and definitely just influenced me in a very transformative way.
Those are wonderful memories. I'll just ask, what has been the most challenging part for you all for volunteering, and how have you overcome it?
For me, I think it's always been trying to balance the idea of having the sustainability and being able to have these longer lasting impacts where you are engaging with the community in a way that's focusing and thinking about and working with the systems at play and thinking about in the larger context what you're doing with also the little things that do add up, as Ishan mentioned, and working with our local community as neighbors, as members of our community, and thinking about how both at the same time are important, while also trying to engage as many people as possible. I think is something that's been trying to balance. And so something like our day of service that's trying to get as many people as possible to become involved in community service who maybe have not been in part of our community at Tufts, is I think a way that we are able to do the little like short-term day-to-day, while also we try to get more people involved in our subgroups through that day to increase the sustainability. And for each of our subgroups, we make sure we're discussing about the larger systems at play. And so I think trying to balance both and trying to incorporate both, it doesn't necessarily mean doing them at the exact same time or in every single situation, but kind of doing a little bit in every area to add up at the end. Because really what it's about is being able to build community and to think about this in the long term, as well as in our day-to-day actions.
And just adding on to that, I feel as Sarah rightly said, it's always just that the little things add up to something collective and bigger. But I feel something else that I found particularly challenging as well is that despite how well-intentioned one might be going into service, we often enter service work with the hope of making a real tangible difference. And sometimes when that difference isn't necessarily obvious or easily measurable, I'd say, it can feel disheartening at times. And I feel there are moments when the needs of a community might not necessarily match the solutions that you've prepared or have considered, and that's okay. I feel one shouldn't necessarily strive to make an impact on a community, but perhaps maybe to just build relationships within it. And I feel that involves sometimes working in ways that we might not directly foresee. So I would say one of my biggest takeaways from service is that one should just focus on centering presence, just being reliable and attentive, responsive to what's asked, rather than coming in with any assumptions of what might be needed.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything original to add after that, but I completely agree with what Sarah and Anika said. I think one of the most important parts of volunteering is also to be realistic with your goals and your impact. This is going out there and picking up one plastic bag is not going to change the world, but what it's going to do is show your community that you do care, show your community that you do want to work with them, just having this opportunity. And also I think what comes with volunteering, which is equally just important, is to be able to reflect on it and to think about it within the context of community dynamics. There are power dynamics at play when you go into a community, even when you are engaged in civic activities. And I think being able to be aware of that, be aware of your biases, be aware of the perspectives you go in with and how you can overlook them and center the community as opposed to centering yourself and patting yourself on the back. I think that can be a challenging aspect of volunteering, but it is a necessary one to be aware of your own biases because that's the only way you can work towards getting ahead of them then.
I'll ask the next question. So, and maybe Ishan, you can go first. How do you see giving back playing a role in your life after Tufts? I mean, you've been so involved while being a student. What do you see for yourself after school?
Um, Wow, that's a tough question. I giving back has been a big part of my life before I came to Tufts. While I've been at Tufts, outside of Tufts, even during the summer, I interned at an NGO and I had a very transformative experience there as well. And I do see it just influencing the way I live my life. I think um we live in a world that is increasingly dealing with a lot of challenges. And I think to be able to incorporate giving back into your life, into your work, just ensuring that it stays there with you, and drawing on those experiences and those perspectives that you had, especially at university, which is a very formative period in your life. I see giving back. I don't know what shape or form it's going to take, if I'm being honest, but I do see it staying a part of my life. And I will endeavor to make sure that it does. So I definitely feel that my time with LCS and my time at Tufts has has emphasized the importance that civic engagement is going to play in my life and why I must stick to it even after I've graduated.
For me, I definitely want to continue being involved in everyday ways after I graduate with my like local organizations in that sense, and also just as a mindset and continuing as a value because that's something that I definitely grew up with as well and want to continue. And then professionally as well, I've been interested going into medicine, and in my mind, a big part of that is remembering that service is part of the profession, and in what I've learned from my community health courses and just engaging with the community in that way, that it's definitely something that needs to be kept in mind in every part of the professional life and in personal. And so something that in that role I would like to continue in being able to serve patients specifically. But yeah.
To just round us off, I feel as an aspiring lawyer, the spirit of giving back that's really been just inculcated in me through LCS will undoubtedly help me well into my future. And I hope to use it as a tool to make structures more humane, systems more just, and I guess rights more accessible. And to me, giving back in a legal context really just means staying proximate to the communities most impacted by the policies I may focus on, the cases I may take well into the future. And so I feel the habits I've formed through LCS will really just continue to shape how I move through the world, both in a personal and professional capacity. And I really hope to just use it as a professional compass that keeps me accountable to the idea of law as a tool for restoration and repair as well.
Very inspiring to hear, I will just say. Is there ways that you can see your alumni helping LCS, helping your subgroups now going forward?
Okay, I think I can get us started off because this was pretty much how I started off with LCS. When then the co-president just handed me a sheet and said, "You're meeting with Rachel. Go ahead, do whatever you need to." So honestly, yeah, it has been a big part of our conversation, especially as LCS has transformed over the last year since last spring, and we are currently seeking ways in which we can get our alumni involved with our service because we feel a big part of getting our volunteers into the organization and getting them more interested is also to be able to show the experiences of the people who came before us. I think one of what really appeals to me about LCS is also being able to be part of this history of civic engagement and this legacy left behind by many of you on this campus and being able to carry that forward. So I think we are currently devising ways. Our wonderful alumni chair, Anika, has been working very hard on finding different avenues for alumni to get involved. So we will be in touch about those. I think it just starts off with something as simple as just giving us your email so we can create an alumni e-list and stay in touch. But we hope to organize at least an alumni event where students and alumni can volunteer together in the coming year, hopefully in the fall, and to get those conversations started because I honestly think as someone who has benefited immensely from the advice and experiences of the mentors that I found at Tufts and also just through my life, I think being able to have that sort of example to look towards is very important for volunteers and students here.
I feel like Ishan mentioned, the alumni chair position was really just his brainchild, so I do have really big shoes to fill there. And we always welcome alumni to reach out to us via our email. We'd love to hear your thoughts and imagine new ways to collaborate. And just two opportunities I wanted to spotlight is this year we'll be welcoming alumni back from May 16th to 18th for the 30th to 70th reunions. And then again from May 30th to June 1st for the 1st to 25th reunions. So we would truly love to see you there. And one more opportunity we have coming up is our senior celebration. We'll be sending an email to all attendees following today's panel discussion, and that email will just include a form where you can submit a congratulatory note or a personal message to our graduating LCS seniors. And really, honestly, just whether your message is short, long, reflective, humorous, heartfelt, every contribution really matters. And the deadline to submit closes at the end of this week. So please do share something if you can, or if something calls to you. And all is welcome and would really just be deeply appreciated.
Mostly echoing what Ishan and Nika have said already, but for alumni, just remembering from a student's perspective that this is not just a college experience and that it goes beyond and can manifest in any way, many different fields and different experiences after graduating, as a value that we've taken away from LCS, I think is really important for current students to see. And so that is something that, as Anika mentioned, the LCS Senior Celebration, we like to show the videos to our graduating seniors to really remind them that LCS is not just a temporary thing, even though the club is only at the time, during while you're a student, the values and the connections, and what we've learned really carries beyond. And it'd be great if anyone is able to share their experiences, or just as Anika mentioned, any congrats. So, but yes, we're always looking to connect with alumni because we do love being able to see where people have gone beyond.
Thank you so much for your questions. We now have a few for you as well. And to start us off, I wanted to ask, what was your experience with LCS?
I can start if you want, Nick. So I was trying to think of which ones to highlight because I echo with what you have all said, that it's just such a substantial part of your experience at Tufts. We could probably spend each of us an entire hour rehashing some of the lovely ones. So I was co-president for my junior into senior year. At the time, there was a lot of controversy, ironically, around the blood drive. So that was one that I just think of in terms of, even when it's well intended, things don't always hit the right way, and we're always trying to figure out balances. There's so much opportunity for creativity. So I know that EL at Tufts, ESL, my freshman into sophomore year, we started a program to bring it on campus and offer it to staff that were here. So I think the beauty, if I have to say it, of LCS was that you could take and have completely different experiences while still leading and having purpose and making those connections and introducing new students to these organizations through the orientation that we used to go. I mean, we went to fields and farmed one day. It's just, there's so much rich. I don't even know if they're all there anymore, but there's just so much variety and richness to all the different things that you can do, and just have this opportunity to meet with the community, learn the different leaders in the organization, and give back. So those are some of the ones that come to mind. I could go on and on, but we're pressed for time, so I'm going to pass it to Nick and see what sticks out for him about his experience at LCS.
Yeah, I mean, I've shared a few already, and so at the beginning, and so overall it was just a great experience with great people, and I was so glad to have other people organizing things I could participate in, and do my share by organizing some activities for my own friends and other people to participate in it too.
Thank you so much. Also kind of in related to what you were just talking about, and what we were talking about carrying beyond, have you had any time since graduation where a skill or knowledge from LCS has helped you in your career or alumni volunteer experience?
Sure. I mean, I can go first. I think one of the things that I had to do a lot while I was at LCS with just organizing was getting people to participate and make the time for something that they knew was important, but how could they fit it in? And that's something that's been a skill I've definitely had to use, even after. There's things people know are important, but how can they make a tangible step towards tackling that thing, whatever it might be, whether it's climate change or environmental or education. There's so many different topics that I find people have the will to want to do something, but need a path or need a stepping stone or need some kind of help making that first step. And that's definitely been a useful skill in so many different ways.
So again, probably not a happy one, but one that sticks, just has come back in a couple places. So with this blood drive controversy that arose, we had to figure out ways to support all of the different interests, one of them being having the blood drive taken off campus altogether. And so I didn't mention this in my intro, I'm actually a lawyer. And so much of what I do in various aspects of it is balancing competing interests and trying to figure out how to, one, understand what is at the heart of what they're trying to accomplish, trying to be able to balance those, because oftentimes there's more alignment than there is discourse, and finding that sweet spot to be able to have everybody leaving the table feeling that they've had their voice heard, and that we're able to still give back and reach our goal at the end of the day. So it's probably one that I feel the most.
All right. Just going off of that, how has your understanding of service evolved with time, and what continues to inspire you to serve?
Sure. So I was really involved in high school, even coming before Tufts, and I think back to all of the different individuals that I've met and the stories that I've learned and the lessons that you pick up. I mean, obviously, we go into all of this with the intention of giving back to others, but what we receive from them in these intangible moments is invaluable. And for me, finding, life changes, you have children, you have, you move, you can't continue it in the same pace and in the same way that we did when we were in college. And so finding the things that you can bring and give back, it's just flexibility, learning and sharing those values, meeting other people, seeing how you can bring your creativity to the table, no matter what it is. So yeah, it's still, you can still find ways to give back. They may not look like the thing that you think it's going to. And I'll just say what Nick said, right? You know that you want to do this. Sometimes it's just finding that stepping stone, finding out how you can contribute, and then doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I think service for me has like what it means has changed a lot. When I was a student at Tufts, Pierre Omidyar was just getting started with setting up the Omidyar Center and office, and there was a huge movement or thought at that time about making service and giving really quantifiable. And I think that thought from the Omidyar Foundation persisted over a long, decades, and it changed the way giving was done in America. For me, I think my conception of service, I mean, I think that's where I started. I think for me, my conception of service has changed a little bit. It's similar to what Anika had said, which is it may not be what, you're trying your best to provide something to the community. It may not be what what ultimately benefits the community, and that's okay. What comes out of it is the relationship that you're building with the community and other members in that community. And in some cases, it may be quantifiable. In some cases, it may not. In some cases, it may be sustainable. In some cases, it may not. And there's a real spectrum across which your opportunities and service can fall. And I think that understanding has definitely been an evolution for me. And it's also been, I think, an evolution for donors and service providers in America over the last, couple decades.
Okay, thanks, Nick. I mean, this conversation was incredible, so heartfelt and insightful and inspiring. So I don't think I had the chance to introduce myself in the beginning. So I'm Elizabeth Amador, and I'm a proud jumbo of the class of 91. I'm also the parent of a graduate from the class of 2022, and I'm the current president of the Alumni Association. So I'd like to end the panel with a few rapid fire questions. First question, Carm or Dewick? Who wants to go first? Anika?
I think I'd have to say Dewick. I'd say the variety is unmatched and it's conveniently close to my dorm.
Perfect. Sarah?
I have to say Carm, the berries, yeah.
Nick?
I lived in Carmichael, so, Carmichael all the way.
Andrea?
So I'm gonna have to say Dewick for proximity for where I was most of my time.
Ishan?
I'm gonna have to say Dueck. I lived uphill, so walking back up after dinner was great for digestion. So
I have to say I was a Dewick girl myself, and it was at the time connected to Bush Hall. So this just tells you how long ago it was. So when it rained or snowed, you didn't have to go outside. So that was pretty cool. Second question, uphill or downhill? Ishan?
I lived in Hill Hall and West Hall, so I believe in uphill supremacy. Up is in the name, so
Andrea?
Um, I'm probably gonna go with downhill. I was in Hodgdon and Haskell, and all the science buildings were in that vantage point.
Nick?
I'm gonna say uphill. I was in the econ building, so all my classes were uphill, and yeah.
Sarah?
I'm gonna have to say downhill. I also was in Carm last year, but this year I'm in Haskell, and all of the STEM buildings are also downhill. So yeah.
Anika?
Think I'd have to go with uphill just because most of my classes are there, and I tell myself it counts as cardio.
Okay, last rapid fire question. Library or campus center? Ishan?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'm gonna have to go with library, specifically the Ginn Library. I love studying there.
Sarah?
I'm gonna have to go with Tish just because of the amount of time I spend there, even though I do like the CC.
Anika?
I'd have to go with the library as well, especially when I need to focus.
Andrea?
This is a tough one. So ironically, my office was in the library when I worked for IT. But I'm probably gonna go with the campus center because I remember having a lot of really fun moments, particularly with LCS there.
And Nick?
I'm gonna have to say campus center too. I spent so much time on the upper floor, like the upper floor. The upper floor can be a library. Most people don't, it's like pretty quiet. And then the TCU government offices were up there. And so because I was working on budget stuff, I spent a lot of time on that second floor.
Great. All right, thanks. So thank you again for being on this panel. And I just have to say, I heard a lot during this panel discussion, but some things that were said often that stood out to me were the words community, volunteering, relationships, making an impact, making a difference, service, transformative, show your community that you care. And it reminds me of something that I hear often about students who go to Tufts, and that is, well, that Tufts attracts students that want to change the world. And when I listen to you, that's the way I feel about you, is that you are individuals who can change the world and want to change the world. And it's very reassuring that you are our present and our future. And I believe our success as a community hinges on how connected we are. As the president of the Alumni Association, I think about this often, because engagement is not just beneficial, it's essential. It leads to student and alumni success. So to conclude today, so I'd like to take you through some opportunities to engage with Tufts, both on the Hill and off the Hill. I think Anika mentioned the upcoming reunions, May 16th through the 18th. These are, if you are in a class year that ends in 0 or 5, please consider joining us on campus to celebrate. Our next all-volunteer call will be on June 11th with Dean Barbara Bruzuela of the School of Arts and Sciences and Dean Lee of the School of Engineering. And homecoming this year will be on October 11th, and you can come find us on campus or at our alumni headquarters for food and fun. Next slide. Okay, so getting involved. There are so many ways to get involved and volunteer at Tufts. Obviously, for those of you on the call, you're already involved. For those of you who are students, the hope is, of course, that you will continue to be involved. The opportunities listed here are just a few of the ways alumni can contribute and continue to stay engaged and connected, as I said, to this community. So if you are interested in continuing your service and volunteering, you could scan this QR code or visit alumniandfriends.tufts.edu. And then also encourage your peers and classmates to volunteer and share their names with our staff. The other thing I would say is, I'm a big believer in this admissions interviewing, and then as you kind of progress and maybe think about other things, mentoring is a huge opportunity. And going into the herd and making those connections with students is a great way to stay connected. And finally, go to the next slide. Okay, so here are the staff contacts that you can stay in touch with and reach out to for any of the listed groups. Of course, we're so grateful for anyone who would like to volunteer. You are our ambassadors. You are out there spreading the word of Tufts and telling people about your experiences. So this is really important. And then thank you again for today's program and for sharing your stories and how meaningful they've been to you. This is really, it's been great listening to you. So thank you all.